Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March meeting of the North Point Peninsula Council. We're going to start the meeting off like we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Praise the Lord.
Woo! Play ball.
Well, thank you all very much, everybody who's here in person, everybody who's watching live online, and everybody who's going to be watching at a later time. We have a really great lineup, a lot of good information tonight, so we're going to jump right into it. We'll start off with our police reports from Officer Briggs.
All right, crime report for this month is from February 6th to March 5th. You had 174 calls for service, 46 reports written. No robberies, no theft from autos, no theft of autos, no burglaries, no overdoses, no narcotics, and really the only thing that happened of consequence, there was a structure fire on 6th Street that a heater caused. FID did not get called out for that. And then a structure fire on Hughes where FID did get called out, but there's no further follow-up on that. So I don't have any cause as to what caused the fire. That's it. That's all I got.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Last month, you guys had a car working on Sparrows Point Boulevard towards Trade Point.
Okay.
You get any? How many you catch that day? Anybody?
I'm sure, but I don't have any stats for it.
Okay, just curious.
I'm going to team up. No, I don't have any stats on that.
Okay, just curious.
Yep.
You look very busy that day.
Quite possible. Anything else? No? All right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll get right into our speakers. You know, one of the big issues in the community. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me better? Okay. One of the big issues in the community the last couple of months has been between Subway, Bethlehem Boulevard, on North Point Boulevard. Been a lot of comments, a lot of people expressed concerns. So probably 2 years ago, we met with State Highways and took them out to that area. And we just looked at some of the issues. I mean, that was an old road, probably wasn't up to standards for modern highways. And just in anticipation of the increase in traffic that was going to be going along there. So with the help of Trade Point, you know, we were able to get a grant, and it gave them some money to really look at the issue and look at that roadway. And we're really happy they're here tonight to give us some preliminary thoughts on what some improvements could be on that road. And so we'll welcome them. We have Kim and Jordan and Angie, right? So who's up? Okay, so this is Kim.
Do you want to try this?
Sure.
Because
I was trying not to
people,
be in the way, but if you mind if I hide over here?
that's perfect.
That way I'm not
People
in the way.
just say they can't
Okay.
hear it wrong.
They definitely won't hear me. Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming out tonight. And your interest in the, okay, and your interest into the, Sparrow, 151 North Point Boulevard.
You have to hold the mic up.
Concepts that we're working on, so. Kim Livesey, as Fran had said, with State Highway Administration. As you guys all know, Trade Point Atlantic in the area, TPA we call it. So they came out around 2017 and they had asked us to look at some also median crossovers. So we did, for some safety concerns, pedestrians, that sort of thing. So we did do that. Jordan will go over that information in a little bit when he's up. And then last year, TPA asked us to develop some concepts for sidewalks and pedestrians and aesthetic improvements as part of the Sparrows Point development. So we did get $250,000 from legislative investment provided to SHA from Baltimore County. So we were able to work with some of the concepts that you see here. If you saw some of the boards when you came in before, and proposed concepts that we had worked with TPA and the community on putting together. So, okay, the sidewalk study limits extend from 151 from the Worth Road interchange to 158 to determine the most feasible route to avoid major impacts to utilities, right-of-way drainage, and business access. So we'll get into all of that. And I think as Fran already introduces, we also have Jordan Vogt here. He's with Chief of Engineering System Design Team and also Project Manager. And we have Angie, and she's our consultant with GPI. So, and then we have the project limits. I'm going to let Jordan go ahead and get into the nuts and bolts of the project and the concept. So thank you guys.
And if I could just interject, we will take pictures of the boards because people can't see them obviously, and we'll put them on our website, on our Facebook page.
I do have a couple copies of the slide presentation if you want to take this.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Right, so as Kim explained, so our project limits are from New Wharf Road interchange all the way up to Bethlehem Boulevard, so Maryland 150. All right, so the existing conditions, you guys are all aware. We have 2 lanes in each direction with shoulder on the outside, open median, so with drainage features on both inside and outside. Some signalized intersections at both Sparrows Point at the end, and then at one of the businesses down there with the 5100 block. So there is a bus route in the area, but there's no stops. There's only on the side, nothing on the side streets. Okay. And then most likely we have a supposed speed limit of 40 miles per hour, which is pretty conducive to this area of development. Again, this is, hopefully you can see it a little bit, it just kind of explains the details. We have 12-foot 3 lanes and then an 11-foot shoulder, which sometimes functions as like an auxiliary or deceleration lane. And then we have that grass median area right now. All right, so part of what we're doing is there's a multi-phase that we're looking at for 151. A lot of it is tied to the Key Bridge collapse and then the adjusted traffic volumes that are on 151, as well as TPA's developments over the years. So part of what this includes is just what we call roadway pavement rehabilitation. And then we're looking at striping and signing upgrades within the corridor. And then some traffic signal upgrades, traffic barriers, there's sporadic traffic barrier in the area. Some drainage structures, there's a lot of sediment debris built up over years in the areas. The drainage inlets themselves get clogged, so our maintenance teams will come out. If you guys have complaints, we go to the Golden Ring shop, come out, clean it for you guys real quick. And then as part of a normal project, we evaluate all that, clean both the pipes and the inlets themselves so everything functions properly. So then as Kim briefly noted, 88, you guys don't have a whole lot of sidewalk out there featuring right now, but there are some sections. So as part of our projects, we go through, make sure they're compliant for the width and the cross slopes and everything else. And then as well as that functions with some of the driveways, which I think pretty much is like the 7-Eleven, and then it kind of ends right there. All right, so right now we do have a couple of stages. So stage 1, you're going to see it sometime in the summer here, and they should complete in the fall. And so the limits that I explained are maintenance staff. They have a contractor that's going to come in and patch and resurface the entire roadway. And not just at this point, the roadway, we can't just do some inter patching, so it's just going to be resurfacing of it. So the existing lanes will go back out, existing as they function right now, the same width and configuration. And so stage 2 is kind of what we're starting initial design on, and this is going to feature upgrading the traffic signals, and then as looking at TPA's developments, there are some areas where the intersections don't function, the tractor trailers are driving over the pavement and in the medians, so we're going to be looking at those turning movements, how do they function with the traffic signals themselves, and then so we're also going to be looking at some of the median crossovers, condensing and removing. TPA's done a little bit of condensing at their most recent area that they opened, and so we're looking at the rest of those ones that Kim had noted in that study that we started looking at. And then right now, construction is to be determined at this time. And then stage 3 is more or less what Angie's going to be talking about, is this sidewalk study that we're going to be doing, and so we can see what those impacts are, and then as we progress through the next phases of funding and everything else, and then again, continuing our partnership with TPA. All right. You want to take over, Angie?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I'll let you kind of get into that.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Hi. Okay, so you guys know what's already out there. What we were slated to study. I'm with Greenman Peterson is the consultant firm that's been hired by State Highway to support this study. So we are also helping the state right now with those the current upgrades, the system preservation work, the drainage facilities, the signal upgrades, all of those things that will be within the next few years. This concept study is just funded for this level. Any of the things that we talk about moving forward aren't funded yet. Okay, so bicycle compatible shoulders, including signing and marking, is one of the elements that we'd like to include in these bigger, the stage 3 improvements. Because if you back up to the typical, you can see there's very wide shoulders in here. What we're hoping is that we can use part of those shoulders as bikeable area for on-road shoulder bikes, and then the other part of the area for the sidewalk improvements. What this does is removes widening and having right-of-way impacts and having utility pole impacts. Stormwater management is required for any new impervious that's proposed. So one of the options is kind of just squeezing it down, right, removing a lot of that shoulder width. But as Jordan had already mentioned, it's a lot of truck traffic that goes through here, so we have to make sure that it's still accessible for them. When they're doing those U-turns, they're taking up that whole movement. So it's a lot that goes into just saying we can condense or we can't. And then the second part of that, whoops, too fast, is the business entrance access control and the standard commercial entrances. So the first part of that, Jordan also already mentioned, was those median openings. It looks like they weren't even provided by the state. They just kind of organically happened over time, and not all of them are necessary. So with the state and Trade Point's input, we've been assessing which ones we think are able to be closed, what that means for the access down the line, what kind of traffic goes into them, if they also have left turn lanes at the next U-turn down. So there's more traffic impact assessments that goes with closing those medians. The second part of that, the standard commercial entrances, is all of the businesses along the side of the roads. I've visited the site like 4 or 5 times now, walked the whole limits back and forth. I'm amazed at what I see people do when you think that they should be following the rules.
They don't.
So a lot of those openings, we'd have to work with all these businesses, and that takes a lot of time and effort and negotiations as well. But closing those into standard construction commercial entrances, and if it's with the sidewalk, there'll be concrete apron entrances, which is more typical for this type of roadway. And then the third one here, this is the big one. This is the Whopper pedestrian facilities on both sides of Maryland 151. So I'm going to skip now just so I can talk about that with the visual. And when you guys will be able to get up and look, this is the proposed concept, and you can't see it very well, but on both sides of the roadway there's a little bright white line. That's the sidewalk as it's proposed now. On the southbound side, so to get your bearings, Wharf Road interchange at the top, and the Trade Point Atlantic development goes up and to the left from there, even though we're not facing north. But on the southbound side, so in front of the Pompian, the brand new facility that was built, we are proposing the sidewalk to go along southbound up to the Sparrows Point Road spur, and then stop and cross over to the northbound. The northbound sidewalk we're proposing from the Wharf Road interchange again, all the way up to Delmar, which is the Edgemere. Oh yeah, I do, thanks. Forgot about that. Yeah, that helps a lot, doesn't it? So there's the sidewalk on the southbound side stopping at the Sparrows Point Boulevard, Sparrows Point Road intersection, and then the northbound side would continue along to, where'd I go? Delmar, which is right here. You guys know more than me. I don't need to point. You know where you are. Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
ask you a really stupidly dumb question?
Never stupid question. I ask
No,
all the time.
I'm dead serious. So there's like snow and ice
Yeah.
and everything. Whom is going to be responsible for clearing those sidewalks and putting salt down? So somebody, like, I don't know, some kid is gonna walk down that sidewalk and slip and fall and break his ankle. Who is gonna be responsible for clearing all of those sidewalks?
So I'm gonna.
No, I'm dead serious. I am dead
I'd rather-
serious. You have a sidewalk in front of your house.
You're responsible for it.
You're responsible for
Yeah.
it. So who is gonna be responsible for all of these sidewalks?
So per Comar, the adjacent property owner is responsible for the maintenance. of the
Okay,
site.
well then, are you gonna raise their taxes to do that? No, I'm dead serious, like, if you're gonna put a sidewalk right where you say, right where you pointed and you say, and there's trees in front of that and land, so these people that have land here, who are they going to get to clear those sidewalks? I'm dead serious. Go up to, they can't even clear the sidewalks at 7-Eleven. in the front of their building, so people don't slip and fall in front of their building.
Right.
Now you're gonna build sidewalks. Who are they going to get to come and clear those sidewalks?
I mean, the people are accessing these
Yeah,
areas.
no, I want to know.
It is supposed to be the property owners. I understand
Okay,
that
so
you don't
Trade
think they're
Point,
going to.
Trade Point
No,
Atlantic.
Trade Point don't own them.
Okay, so whoever rents, like where those trees are, and you said there's sidewalks there.
That's a state park. That's a state
Okay,
park.
so the state is gonna come out and do that. I'm asking a question. I'm asking a legitimate question.
Of course.
Because we get snow and ice here.
Yes.
So you have a sidewalk that is not clear.
So I think the purpose of the sidewalks is for access for people in good conditions. I mean, yes,
Oh,
people are gonna try and walk the sidewalks whenever, but the sidewalks will be 90% of the time used in good conditions. The
Come
people
on,
that need to
Lauren,
clear
you
the
know better.
sidewalk.
You know better.
I know, but that's the way it is.
Well,
Yes,
no,
sir.
I'm not. No, I'm dead serious.
I
There's a
understand.
question. We get snow and ice in Maryland. We get a lot of ice in
Yeah.
Maryland.
Yep, I clear my sidewalk every time. Yes, sir.
I have a question. This is the new improvements on the right over here, and the left is the existing.
Yes, sir. These are proposed concepts, yeah.
What I'm wondering is, when the advent, the opening of Marine Bulk Transit, the meat and potatoes down here at Trade Point comes in, they're talking over 1,600 to almost 2,000 trucks increasing. That's the same roadway. I don't see an expansion or any, even the turn lanes, you can only fit one tractor trailer, you put a second one there, it cuts off the lane. So the whole thing, what's the long-term plan for this?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's why all of this it's still in preliminary discussions, right? So you guys need to bring us input, like these concerns that you have right now. Trade Point needs to bring us their proposed designs. I know that they have improvements that they are slated to make that have nothing to do with the state road improvements, based on their traffic projections and their expectations. And all of this needs to be kind of thought of comprehensively, right? So not just what the community needs, not just what Trade Point wants, and not just what the state can build, but all of that together.
Safety first.
And safety first. Yeah.
How many people do you figure will be using the sidewalk
Transit.
in that area?
Yeah, so pedestrian counts haven't been
It's going to be
done.
necessary to put one in the first place.
Right. Seriously, think about it.
That's a great question. So Trade Point is funding this study because they are trying to support the community and the access to the development there. I think they're,
Please go.
We're trying to appease the public.
yeah, so I didn't even
Well,
get to
nobody's
the
gonna
third
walk, so they can
bullet
skip
there.
that shit, because nobody's gonna walk.
Well, one of the, if I could just say, so one of the reasons the sidewalks are there, when they built the new park, one of the biggest complaints was you had to drive to the park.
Right.
So if you look at this plan, the sidewalks actually start at Delmar and then go all the way around to where the park is. Now, there's no connectivity to the park right now, but they just did all kind of utility work or something through there. So we're thinking as this project develops, that maybe that would be a great place to get that access to the park from this project. And this is the first time we've talked about this publicly, so, I mean, this is a discussion that we all have to take. And Russell, with the road expansion, we've already talked about expanding the turn lanes, you know, to get, so you have more access off. One of the issues why we talked about the road closures, the ones that were just makeshift, is because now, one second, Ryan, you have like 40-mile-an-hour cars coming, 50-mile-an-hours, somebody turning left, and there's no turn lane.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's a lot that is going into the discussions to try to address that we've identified all through the years. You know, we've all done that. So this is the first step for a discussion, and we'll have more input as the project goes. Yeah, Ryan.
I had a question. Beyond where North Point Road comes out on North Point Boulevard, is there any thought for any kind of major sign changing? Like around major ports in America, we have them properly marked with major overhead signs that say everything that's truck or heavy weight needs to go this way, and then anything with roads become weighted, don't pass here, like if you're above this many thousand pounds.
Sure.
Because if you were to ride around the neighborhood of Edmere right now, a lot of missing street signs, potholes caused by crushed cross pipes, ends of drain pipes, and inlets are all crushed. Trees branches ripped out of people's yards, the corners of people's yards are all messed up, fences are placed, because trucks are getting lost in our neighborhood, and there's on average, I would say 10 to 15 a week, 53-foot tractor trailers fully loaded, that are being turned around in our neighborhoods, and they're causing major damage. With the uptake in the trucking, it's gonna be exponentially, increased. I was wondering if there's any thought for a major signs coming off our boulevard. I'm not sure what the plans are for the boulevard, dropping traffic down off Bethlehem Boulevard. I'm sure that'll take a lot of the traffic, but is there any thought process for major sign changing to let trucks know this is the wrong way, guys?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I see them over there taking notes.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate your questions and all your concerns, because it's like, you had said, this is our first time out here showing you guys this, so.
I'm sure
All your questions, we'll write them down, and that's actually a very good question.
I'm sure it's
I
accelerated
think
with
we've
the
been-
bridge too.
That's on the spur, correct? Is that what you're saying?
We've been complaining about that for,
Is that on the spur piece?
we've been complaining about the no signs for
Yes,
years, years.
Where North Point Road goes into Edgemere, at North Point Boulevard, basically at the end of where you're talking about this proposed work.
Okay.
From between there and the boulevard right now is where everything's feeding because of the bridge being out.
Gotcha.
And trucks are making a left on the North Point Road down into the Edgemere neighborhood, instead of making a right on the Bethlehem or going straight with North Point Boulevard because of name changes and things like that. And they're having addresses that are ended up not in the right place. And I just was wondering if there's anything for like overhead signs, big, that kind of thing. That says, hey, guys.
Jordan, there is another project that's looking at overhead signs, so I'm not sure what it includes, but.
So, this probably isn't the right place for this, but my husband's theory on why those tractor trailers get down into Edgemere is because we all have the same zip code. And his suggestion is Trade Point should have their own zip code, so that GPSs take them there to a zip code rather than downtown Edgemere. So I don't know how you approach zip codes or whatever, but I thought it was a good idea.
It's also street names, because there's a Sparrow Point Avenue or something.
Right.
That's what really is.
Yeah.
You got 2 or 3 Sparrows, you got 3 or 4 Chesapeake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's 3 main roads that go into the Trade Point Atlantic Peninsula, right?
Yeah, none of them know
157.
Half the people driving trucks can't speak English anyway.
Okay.
One question.
Of course.
Will there be forthcoming, public meetings by MDOT and MBTA on this issue as it unfolds?
For the first project, which is like, pretty much like the roadway, the roadway needs something, so that's kind of like a resurfacing, or maintenance resurfacing. There won't be any public meetings for that, because that is just resurfacing the roadway. But I do believe we'll send out letters, right, Jordan? We'll send out letters for that one.
For the property owner letters?
Yeah.
Well, that's just for the startup projects, but I think you're asking, like, as we develop both the sidewalk development and then anything that in terms of there's truck restrictions, things like that. Correct, so yeah, if we maintain with the sidewalk study development as we continue working with TPA and refine the design, come back, obviously we'll still come back with this is basically allow the TPA, just to, by that time, maybe the park is more developed and, maybe you guys, have a different preference for the sidewalk and things like that, for that. The other project that we're working on right now, because it's basically just upgrading the traffic signals and adjusting the drainage things, we're pretty confined with the roadway itself.
But I'm talking down the road, as this unfolds, and Trade Point Road, we used to have 4,000 people on this peninsula, as of 1960. Now we have 14,972 as of 2022.
For a project like that, we definitely have community input and.
And with TPA, so yeah, we're partnering with you.
Interface, yeah.
Yeah, this is our preliminary concepts, so, and it's all we're funded for at this time as well, so,
Thank you. Yeah.
thank you.
I do have another question. So you're putting all these sidewalks in and everything, so in like 3 to 5 years, when Trade Point continues to develop, so you can go back in and take those sidewalks out and make them roads? Like, is that like your whole goal? Like, once you take that land and make them sidewalks, you can come back in and take them out and make them roads?
That's not.
They're using the roadway to put the sidewalks on the big
We
roads.
wouldn't want to put the sidewalks in and then tear them out to widen.
Well, I mean, normally that's
That's
usually what
what-
happens. Come on, guys, please don't be stupid.
I noticed on the concept, when you come northbound on Sparrows Point, North Point Boulevard, right at Bethlehem Boulevard, the right-hand lane, because a lot of people come up out of Sparrows Point Road, and instead of cutting through the community, they'll just loop around, then make the right again. And there's no right-hand turn lane, right, correct, right there where the pointer. If you could do something there to give it a real right-hand lane.
Is that right at the sun?
Yep. Yeah, because you gotta go into the shoulder, or you turn off.
Right behind the VFW you're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right behind the VFW, you're coming there.
Where the old bridge went across.
Coming from Mickey's, going up to the VFW.
Yeah.
That might be part of the trade point improvements, do
So,
you recall?
so we're,
Eliminate the sidewalk, you don't need.
No, there's no sidewalk in the sidewalk, it's a Delmar. Yeah, sidewalk only goes to Delmar. Right up where you were.
Yep.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
It's consideration.
Thank you. Take notes. I'm not writing. Bethlehem.
I don't know, it might be.
That's 158, right?
Yeah.
That's Bethlehem.
on
Correct.
the left side is 158, and then it's local North Point Boulevard.
151.
So we can check with Trade Point, but I think that's already a project that they're gonna have to do,
That's not-
is a rework of that whole intersection.
But I don't know
We've
the
been
rate.
told that, I don't have any details on it or anything, but we can find out again, we'll ask again and find out.
Yeah, so that'll be part of, so like a stage development, I'll interject a little bit with TPA stuff. I'm not, their full stuff, I'm not fully conversed in, you guys know a little bit more. So as part of their ultimate build out, they have to provide an updated traffic impact study. So as they start to develop their properties, in future ones, they need to see what that does to intersections. And that intersection is on part of their future stuff where they will have to do improvements at that intersection for the rest of their ultimate build out. So, and then that's kind of discussions that probably Aaron brings up with you guys a little bit more.
Yes.
I think what Russell was trying to say, and the lady with the red jacket, when this study started, Fran, what year, was it 2017, or you've been working on it a long time, right?
Yeah.
And what happened, so when Fran started this is a long procedure, and we asked, him to look at it, he's doing it on his own. What happened was the Mediterranean shipping line, the largest shipping line in the world, container line in the world, came in not too long ago, probably about 2 years ago they announced it. So now, imagine the ship of the Dali, the size of the Dali, but bigger, coming in and unloading within 24 to 48 hours. Now, some's going on train, but I think what they were saying, all of a sudden, this is just going to be thousands and thousands of containers. They got to get them unloaded, get them loaded, and get out of here, because the next one's standing in line. So I think that's what they meant. So if we have the sidewalks and the shoulders, all of a sudden, it's going to be this huge thing. So since we initially, the council initially requested it, the terminals come in. So this is, we were, in the past we were thinking of FedEx and Amazon and the other folks, but now we've got the world's largest shipping company. We're going to be a major port, and we got to service those roads. And I think that's what the folks were interested. Before we do a sidewalk, maybe we better do that study. And I think you were starting to say that, to look ahead, and Fran said it with Trade Point to get the input. But I just wanted to try to clear that up.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But that was
Thank you.
proposed, Trade Point's already told us that all that traffic is going up and down, and that's their proposal. We can only go with what they've told us. So all that traffic is supposed to come directly out and go right on to the Beltway. That's what we're being told. Now, you guys would be able to find out more. But that was the proposal when the last time we just had a meeting and they were showing the shipping, because that was a concern. We don't want it coming up through North Point
Hey, and
Boulevard.
when the new facility for the kids supposed to go down on Penwood Field too, wasn't it?
Right,
Did they tell us that too?
right.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's
They
what
told
was
us that too.
proposed,
Right.
and we don't want that traffic out on North Point Boulevard.
You don't want
So
that traffic
that may be
in
a question
Edgemere.
for you to corner them and say, is this what's really happening?
Yeah, so that signing
I
question
want to
probably
follow
was.
up with Ed. We were told that the new bridge is high enough for double stack, but then we're being told they're not going to use a major rail line. They're going to be the biggest logistics port on the East Coast, and we're not gonna take advantage to all of our rail lines to the Midwest, and also Wharf Road, that connects to the interstates, which, you know, connects to the rest of America. So I think we gotta really look at that. I understand what Ed's saying, because I'm saying the same thing, and my neighbors, this could turn into like a Broning highway. And
Right, it might be something we need in writing.
Right.
Might be something we need in
In
writing.
writing, an actual like, hey, look, this is
Like a
what we're gonna do.
contract with the community.
And 3 inches of asphalt's not gonna do any good. The
Yeah, they
Burning
ain't gonna do
Highway,
that.
If you know what they did over there, they went 6 foot deep.
Yep, commuted there.
Right.
But that can be retrofitted.
3 inch asphalt ain't gonna get it.
No, that's not gonna work. And those sidewalks, I'm sorry, if you're not gonna clear them with the snow and ice, and somebody physically walks down them, I don't really care. You're putting a sidewalk in, somebody's gonna use it. You better figure out who's gonna clear that.
Okay, I have a counterpoint to that. As somebody who walks that road, I would rather have to walk on it and
The snow.
think that I'm smart enough to avoid being on it if it's really bad, stay home, just like driving. But I would rather be walking on a sidewalk on North Point Boulevard than on the shoulder like I do now. Just saying.
I'm just
Some
saying.
people might not have a choice.
You have a
They
sidewalk, you get that
They
clear.
have to walk anyway.
And there's plenty of people in this neighborhood
Really? Because you
who
clear
don't
those
clear their
sidewalks, don't you, at your
sidewalks
freaking
anyway.
locations?
So you're gonna get wrapped around the axle about something that's gonna be
Doesn't matter,
beneficial
it's still the
for
business,
us,
Trade Point's gonna hire somebody.
possibly, and maybe a week out of an entire year, it's gonna be bad.
Then get that, now that he's gonna do his
I don't get that.
These are great comments. I think we would welcome many more. I'm sure you guys have neighbors that would like to share their thoughts too. Like we said though, it's not just the state's endeavor. It's Trade Point, it's your community input, it's a lot of things. The sign issues, I'm pretty sure there's a whole other project that's dealing with that. So all of this stuff isn't just one person, one entity, one company, one whatever. But the more that we can get that input, the more that we can disperse it to who it is responsible for, and hopefully start to get some of those things moving. Yes, sir.
Isn't it true, once we go forward, future-wise, you're not going backwards here?
What does that mean?
You know, once you start and put in certain things and do that, as development, as the place, as the business, corporation grows, you know, our Trade Point,
Sure.
our global hub, they aren't saying that lightly. It's gonna get huge, and the thing is, once you move forward and you do certain things, you can't go back in the future and take it out. You know, we have to plan for it now, for the future.
Sure, and I think that's what Trade Point is slated for right now, is doing those projections of their traffic increases over the next, it's usually a 20-year period, so hopefully they're looking into that. Not in charge of them, but
Thank you.
thank you guys, appreciate it.
We'll let Angie finish, and Fran, what do you think, if people have questions, or they go back and they have additional questions, or their neighbors have questions, maybe phone for you and we'll get them?
We can do that, but is there some way for you to leave your address where if they wanted to write you
We
something?
can do that too, yeah.
Yeah. Is that on that thing you gave me?
It's not, but I'll add it on.
Okay, I can put that on, we'll put that on page 2.
Yeah, we can update that slideshow real quick.
Are you guys finished?
So Simon, I think we're done, if you guys have any, just, we appreciate your concern.
Any more questions, guys?
But if you have any other questions or anything else,
Any more questions? We'll move on if not.
I'll leave my email address, or I can pull up my email address.
I have all. So should they send them to you at your, because I think I have your address, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Are you guys ready to scoot, or are you going to stick around? Because I'll just get somebody to go take a picture of the board.
I took them.
You did? Oh, never mind then. Okay. Linda got it.
The boards with you, so you can look at them, mark them up.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah. Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah. And then we'll get them back to you somehow. All right. Thank you. Hey, why don't you take your easels over?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was really a good first conversation on this, and you know, nobody really has all the answers, nobody really has all the plans, but we have to start somewhere, and we have to start looking at this because with the, like I said earlier, with the traffic increases, with modern standards for roadways, I mean, we're not going to go back or stay that's something that's not up to date if we don't have to. We have, like, and with the new park, I mean, that really was a big consideration. That was a big complaint at the very beginning, that people had to drive there. They couldn't ride their bikes, or they couldn't walk. So this is really a first stab at trying to get something in place that people can do that, because a lot of people don't ride their bikes and walk, but there's a lot of people who do ride their bikes and walk. And and the park's opening up soon. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I have another not speaker, but Rod, I hope you had time. I forgot to ask you if you were in a hurry. Yeah. You good? Yep. So Mr. Rod McMillian is our school board representative, and he's a frequent speaker at our meetings. He has some updates for us, and so Rod, welcome.
Somebody want to turn those lights on, please? Thank you. For the people that don't know me, I taught school for 35 years. I retired from Baltimore County. I ran twice for the Board of Education. Hi, Sam. I won that election, so I'm in 6 years into that term. So it was 2 4-year terms. I'm in the midway part of the second term. And one thing I'll add is we have term limits on this position. The people in Annapolis passed term limits, so we're allowed 3 4-year terms. After that, we're done. My plan is to run the next term. That my plan is right now. I want to talk about our budget process. So there's an operating budget and there's a capital budget. Last meeting, last Tuesday, we passed the operating budget for next school year. Now, I didn't vote for it. I voted against it. And I'll tell you why. In that process, it's often said that it's the Board of Education's budget. My argument is it's not my budget. It's the superintendent's budget, and she asked us to sign it. If it was my or our budget, I think that we would be involved in the grassroots building of that budget. And we're not. We see it at the end. We're allowed to ask questions. Some of our questions are answered, some of them aren't answered. And there's a lot we don't know about within these pages. I would say, transparency. People talk about transparency. To me, it's an easy word to throw out there. They use it when they want to use it. To me, there's an old phrase, in your ear and out your mouth. And I'm that kind of guy, as long as it's not school safety. If we're talking school safety, I don't want that kind of information to get out. As far as like the details of plans, we talked about the plans over here one time. And I was against letting out the detailed feasibility study of the current building, only because if that got in the wrong hands, the hands of the wrong people, then there could be issues with that. So I'm not into that piece of it. So she asked us to vote on the budget. I said no. Her budget was 6.5% more than it was last year. And Kathy Klausmeyer, the county executive currently, she came out a couple weeks ago and said, I can tell you right now, you're not going to get 6.5%. We can talk about 3%. Now, there's something called maintenance of effort. We are guaranteed to get what we got last year, but there's no guarantee beyond that. So the superintendent asked for 6.5% more. Kathy Klausmeyer said no. We'll talk about 3%. So we never saw those. We're not involved in those discussions. So they want us to vote on something and pass something where we don't have the final product in our hands, in front of us. So I said, no, I'm not doing that. Something else with the state. When the superintendent planned out her budget, she had X number of dollars coming from the state. So what happened after she presented the budget, then it turns out that Governor Moore subtracted $20 million more out of the state allocation to us. So we didn't see, okay, it was $20 million less, where's that money going? What do we have to cut to make that equal? So there's too many unknowns for me. And I've said, people say, oh, trust me.
No, don't trust me.
And we're talking to the tune of almost $3 billion, 2.9 something billion. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't trust you. I'm not signing that with all these unknowns. I'm not doing it. Now that's the operating piece of the budget. So now it goes to the county executive. The county executive can cut or add to that budget that we've set on. And then after that, it goes to the county council, and they can subtract but they cannot add. So that's that process. On the capital piece is the building piece. Now, in September of '24, the Board of Education voted on our capital budget, and we approved $8.723 million for the design and the planning of the new buildings over here. So we had our meeting in October, and the community meeting, and I thought it was well attended, well organized. People had the opportunity to go up to three different boards and talk to people and express their questions and needs and desires for the design. Now, for those who don't realize it, behind the food line, there's an old piece of property, and it's
Carl Trust?
Yeah, the Carl Trust property. So that's the plan. That's already county owned that. We're going to get that piece of property, and that in addition to what we had, the 50-some acres that we had with the current school site, that gives us enough acreage to build, and the plan is to build 2 new schools, a new middle school and a new high school. That's the plan. So we approved $8.7 million to go into the state. We have to get their approval to start the process. Now, just to let you know what kind of money we're talking about, right now, Lansdowne High School is under construction. I'm not sure when they're going to open up on the other side. The cost of that building is $204 million right now, while they're under construction. There's 2 other buildings that's getting ready to go, and that's Delaney and Towson. One of those is $250 million, and that's the projected cost. So once they break ground and they get into it, we all kind of figure the price is going up.
300.
And the other one's 280.
Easy to.
So that's $734 million wrapped up into 3 high schools.
Yeah, you ain't getting it.
So my point is, to get the money to fund this, is going to be an issue. Now, what I don't understand is, I just don't understand. The state talks about,
They're broke.
you know, they had a surplus under Hogan, and now, you know, where's that surplus? And then people say there's no surplus. So that kind of, I don't know how to follow that, because it's, you know, fact or fiction. Was there surplus? Wasn't there surplus? You know, Hogan let people go. Moore's hiring people. I don't know about that. I don't know where that money is. People ask me about the lockbox money from a bunch of years ago. You know, we were supposed to get, you know, schools were supposed to get the education, the casino piece of money.
Yeah.
You never heard about that, and then it went back on the ballot again, and it was referred to as the lockbox. That money's going in a lockbox, and it's not going to be used for anything else. So that passed, so where's that money at? So there's so many of these things that I don't know and I don't understand. It's on a different level, and then we go back to transparency again.
Like
and there's one thing else I want to mention, House Bill 538. That's the one down the road that Sam Hemmelrich and those guys have permission to do something different down there than what their original plan was. I've gone back to the Baltimore County Public School people, the central staff people, and I've asked them about what's the impact of that going to be on our plans over here. And nobody can answer me. Because they don't know the situation with that. The best answer I got out after talking to about half dozen people is one person said to me, Rod, that's up to the lawyers. You know, the county lawyers are going to fight the state lawyers and that kind of stuff, and then whoever wins that, I guess, determines how many houses he can build down there.
Right.
But that affects, you know, the state rated capacity for our schools.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we were right on the bubble with our schools, and right around what we are now. And then who knows how many houses are built down there? How many kids is that going to bring to the school?
Probably
so those are unknown
800.
questions. So that's the budget process. Any questions about that?
No, but thank you for doing all of that.
What's that?
Thank you for doing all of that.
You're welcome.
No, that's awesome. What you just did and what you asked and what you said was phenomenal. And you're the only one who speaks the actual truth.
Well, people call me a career politician, or a politician. I happen to say I'm a career educator.
Well, there you
So,
go.
you know, this is kind of stuff that interests me. It really does. Yes?
One question. when they put the high school and the others.
I'm sorry, I forgot my hearing.
When they put the two schools on this
Yeah.
building, they're not gonna impact the wetlands, right?
They're not gonna be what?
They're not gonna
Impacting the
impact the
wetlands.
wetland back there where the wetlands and waterways product.
No. And that was the advantage of putting that property together, we already had.
Just ask.
Because the formula worked out that way. And they're gonna stay off of that. There's not two buildings together, it's gonna be two separate buildings. That was something the people wanted, and that's what we're gonna get. Brett, yes?
With the wetlands, I know that the kids have gone back there with canoes and looking frogs and spawning. So Russell means not to damage it, but I'm all for some kind of a pier there, a ramp, so that the kids can get out, get in their kayaks, and go in that little lagoon and do their ecology stuff. So
Right.
is
Aren't
that
we a
something we
species
can
cult?
consider, if we can convince the environmental people that it's not gonna hurt?
Well, there's a magnet program over there, they call it the species program.
Right, can we get a
And that's-
kayak ramp for
Could we
that?
get a little pier there for them, like,
Yeah.
would be great.
I know the magnet coordinator pretty well. Let me reach out to him and just see what his,
A good selling point.
and ask him what his needs are for that program.
Continue.
And as far as canoe launching and that kind of stuff. I'm curious to see what he has to say. Yes.
Any idea how much more money went into Dundalk High School?
Say that again?
Extra money that went into Dundalk High School after they built it. They put all
have
the
trailers now.
trailers out there, now they're putting the.
Right now, Dundalk, they're in the middle, they're under construction. They broke ground, they're building, they're going up. It's a $50 million addition on that.
How much did that cost originally?
Originally, it was opened up in 13. They had trailers in 14. I'd have to go back and research the cost of it. But my point about Dundalk is, you've got this trailer complex, and I've been in it. And it's like, it's a complex. It's got restrooms, it's got offices, it's all these trailers, like modular trailers that are connected.
Right.
We were told about 4 years ago when we passed that they would be 650 over the state rated capacity in January of 26. They hit that in January of 23. That's 650 over. So in discussions over that property, I've said, you better leave that trailer complex there. Because when you open up these wings, what they did with the building, it's the southwest corners going up and the northeast corners going up. So I said, we were 650 over 23.
What are we
going to be over when they open up?
In 2026?
So I've said, you better keep those trailers there because you're probably going to need them. And one guy said to me, well, we've already got plans to push those. I said, you ought to slow down a little bit on that. Now, Patapsco's getting an addition. But the interesting thing about that is the money piece of it. Are they going to get tied up in the state? Is the state going to slow them down? That's an unknown right now, yes.
Just to touch on, they kind of said what I was already going to ask. With what happened at Dundalk, I know you said the studies, the population, you don't realize that, but have they thought about that when it comes to the Two Sparrows Point? So when it's 3/4 of the way through construction, before it opens, you're putting trailers back out there again.
The state has a formula that they use when they calculate.
It don't work.
Maybe we should have a mathematics person do it.
Well, and then you sound very educated in your field. So my question, the other question I wanted to ask, when it comes to a magnet school like Sparrows Point, or same as Dundalk, if that school could hold 1,000 kids, and you need to increase it by 500 for our neighborhood, say, the local jurisdiction where you're supposed to go to school, but you happen to increase that school by 1,000. Those 500 slots fill up immediately anyway, because more people just come from all over the county and go there. Because now that school can support 500 more magnet kids.
When you're talking state rated capacity, it's real difficult. Because the state funds so much money toward our schools, they don't. And I used the analogy once of like a young couple that buys a home and thinks they're going to have 3 kids, and let's buy this home so we have a couple extra bedrooms. That's the state. They hold tight to that formula on those numbers, and that's why Dundalk, when they opened up in 13, the next year they got trailers. They don't want to put that money out and plan ahead. Something else that caused a little bit of problem with, it's going to cause a problem with funding over here, was because of, there were open seats at Stricker and Dundalk Middle. So because there were open seats, the state says, we're not going to give you X number of dollars what we normally would because there's open seats up here. You know, why can't some of those kids go up there? Well, the public, the community has said, we want our kids to stay on the peninsula. We don't want them to go there. So because of that, that's contributed to the state not, you know, allotting more money than they normally would. But the numbers, we've talked about the numbers and it's a mess. And then you throw in that House bill, and who knows, we're supposed to bring in 100 kids. I don't know how many kids, you know, depends on the housing.
Wouldn't know the percentage of kids attending Sparrows Point that are outside the district right now.
And coming from the species.
Like, in other words, if that school, when I went to Sparrows Point High School, the only people who went to Sparrows Point High School were the people that lived in the district, and if you didn't live in this district and wanted to go there because you had to live with your grandmother temporarily in Dundalk for 6 months, you had to sign a whole bunch of paperwork and give your left arm. But I was just curious if you knew, if only the children in the Sparrows Point district went to that school, it would probably only need to be half as big.
I don't have any numbers like that, but I'll share this with you, Ms. Keller. I'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
People are always, I've got right now on my desk, a woman trying to get special permission to get her kid in. So her kid's going into middle school right now, but they're zoned outside, and so she's trying to get him into high school. So this is a real nice setting.
Right.
Right.
People want to get
Oh, they
their kid
love
in.
this place. They like the
That magnet
athletics. Right.
school, that magnet program, the last time I checked a couple years ago, there was like 350, 400 kids in that program. But there were a number of Sparrows Point kids involved in that program too. And one thing about a magnet program, it brings in a lot of extra money into the school setting.
Sure.
So if you take that number of, that X number of tens of thousands of dollars out of there, how does that impact the school?
Right.
Oh,
So
it
it's a
does.
debate that goes on.
Big puzzle.
But you don't know, like.
Ms.
when-
Taylor has a question probably from somebody.
No, from me.
Okay.
Not online. If the school gets larger, and to this gentleman's point about gets larger, more kids come to the magnet program, how do they anticipate getting all their cars into the community? Because as you bring more and more students from outside the community, North Point Road's not getting any bigger. Are they looking at that in their
On
design?
the designs, they looked at the parking piece of it, but the road piece, and I think the road piece ties up into Fort Howard. If
Well-
you were to build more, then you're gonna have more people
Yeah,
coming
but
in.
if you ride out here, they're all coming in from the, they're not coming up that way, they're coming in from, the boulevard.
But I
That
was
could be
saying-
backed up all the way to the boulevard,
I
because,
sat there one day and when the school had let out, and I counted 8 buses that left the school, went out down North Point Road and going up on 695 and going everywhere else
Everywhere else.
except for here.
Sure.
8 buses.
So I just hope they take that into account when they plan the school, is how are they gonna get the traffic in and out of this community?
And I'm sure what they can't tell, which what I've noticed is, if you're sitting there waiting for the school buses, there's 5,000 cars lined up on North Point Road. Here comes a school bus, got 3 kids on it. Here comes another school bus, got 7 kids on it. And I know in their numbers, they're looking at a piece of paper, to their benefit, and they're saying, okay, well, this school has this many kids, and 84% of them are eligible to ride the bus. It's not their fault that only 6% of them ride the bus, and the rest of them, their parents are bringing them to school.
Yeah.
With magnet transportation, what they do a lot of times, there'll be a hub. Like if kids are coming down here from, I live in Essex, let's say they pick up a bus, I'm not sure of the exact route, but there'll be people that go to, let's just say Kenwood, for example, and they'll get picked up at Kenwood and then brought down here on a bus, and then they go back up the road in the afternoon. That's a real popular program. This is a real popular school.
It's a real popular area.
People are trying to get in here all the time. I mean, that's the realities of it. And their administration is real tight on those special permissions. This mother that I'm talking to right now said to me that, the administration said, we're not signing a special permission. They're not, we're not doing that. So the woman knows up front that that's not going to happen with her child. So she's trying to go a different route to get a seat for her son. Anything else?
Thank you for your.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your effort in getting the school, the
Together.
two schools to be back here. And we have to remember that there's no environmental issue over the land behind Food Lion. Because whatever they do, if there's gonna be a change a little bit of the land, it's gonna come back to Mother Nature again. It'll just take a short time after they get the building done and everything, and we'll be fine. And also, we have to give this new two schools a proper name, because so many people are calling Edgemere Sparrows Point now because of the school here. There is no longer Sparrows Point School. They closed it up when Sparrows Point shut down. We have to rename these two schools to be a proper name for our
And I want to give
community.
Francis credit. Francis was the first person that mentioned the Food Lion property to me.
Thank you.
And that was a year and a half, 2 years ago at least.
Or longer.
Thank you.
Or longer.
It might be longer, Francis.
Thank you, Rod. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome anytime, Rod.
Thank you.
Anytime. So, yeah, Andrew, we have talked about the same thing with the schools for years now. You know, it's kind of like if you provide it, they will come. They're not going to have empty seats, you know, and it's kind of like the Fort Howard property too. They can build projects for veterans, and that's great and needed, but they're not going to have empty units in there, and that's a concern. Another thing, you know, we've talked to the alumni about, you know, they're just, when you have a large amount of kids who aren't from the area, you don't have that school spirit, you don't have that community, you know, they get in their cars and they go home. That was a complaint we heard, you know, from the alumni. They don't have that interest in the community like if it's your school, if it's your neighbors, if it's your friends, you know, you grow up. It's amazing to me. Now, I've lived here 40 years. 45 years, but it's amazing to me how many of my friends are still in contact with their elementary school friends. I mean, it's just, you don't see it anywhere else that I know anyway.
I'll be a pointer forever.
Yeah, there you go.
You know?
So, Rod, again, thank you. I don't really want to get into Fort Howard because it's all speculation at this time, but if it's a senior housing project, which that's been talked about, maybe that wouldn't have an impact, but nobody knows what's happening with that yet. So I have a couple things on the agenda that I wanted to go through real quick if we could. Ed and I went to the Corps of Engineers hearings for the Trade Point project, and I mean, it was a lot of good information. A lot of people got up and spoke. Andrew was one. I mean, there was a bunch of us that spoke, and you know, I think the gist of it was, in most of the cases, was people weren't against the project. They recognized that the devil was in the details of the project. So, what are the impacts going to be? That kind of thing. We had a lot of people talked about the yacht club land. You know. The yacht clubs have been there for a while, but more importantly, that land has been there for a while, and part of the remediation that they have to do for taking the open water that they're going to be using for a dike area is they were told that they have to create open water somewhere. So they identified the property that the yacht clubs are on now. I mean, it was open water at one time. We had that old picture down here last meeting when they were here. And you can see where it was open water, but that was in 1950. So
actually, that where we sit, where the remediation site is, where Craig Hill Light is, and the only one that they want to dig up is not virgin Mother Nature land back in aerial photographs back to the 1920s. Or is the breakwater that goes out into Old Roback. When they filled in, coming up there, they filled in straight along Wharf Road. That's as far as they filled. And those tits of land that stick out were original land. Even where we sit now, that's always been Mother Nature's land. Mother Nature's breakwater for Jones's Creek.
Well, I know that was another area that people had concerns about, taking out that little spit of land at the end there. You know, it's providing protection.
There's a lot of people with houses over the years that have, if you look back before that breakwater was there in the old photographs, didn't have piers. Because before that breakwater was there, you couldn't have those piers.
It's kind of like that.
You know, even though it's man-made, it's been there 60 years, long enough that the community is developed around having that breakwater.
Right. So back on the table for people who are here, they passed out a couple handouts. There's some of the brochures that Trade Point had last meeting, but there's also a piece of paper back there that's in instructions for commenting, and it's also a paper that has, you know, you can fill out, and then the address to send it to MDE is on there too. So if you have comments, and I mean, obviously we all have concerns and comments we want to make, grab one on the way out. I think they're available online too for people who aren't here. But it's important that the regulators hear from us, because there has to be other opportunities to remediate for what they're doing, other than taking land that, even if it's not the yacht clubs, it could be expanded recreational field. You know, it could be they're talking
boats.
Well, they say they're going to put a boat ramp. They're going to leave them up for a boat ramp.
They're going to take Pleasant and make.
Yeah, they're going to use that existing.
Yeah, they're going to make that.
That you really can't.
Right. It's just a junk thing that they're going to walk into the water with kayak.
Gotcha. But the rest of it could be used for pickleball courts. It could be used for anything.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so,
Rather than see it just dug up and just.
and we've expressed that just to Trade Point. We've seen them a couple different times, and we've asked them, please try to find something else. But we're writing it up, so that's what we all have to do.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, sir.
So, if they pick the yacht clubs, they get more credit for giving back waterways. We're asking everybody, if you could, please write a comment. We would rather see, leave the yacht clubs alone, and put in a living shoreline. Something that's, you know, visibly more pleasing for all of us, instead of just one little concentrated area. So, you know, that's kind of where I was headed. I tried to make that point there, which those guys that were listening, I give them a lot of credit. They listened to everything we were saying. So I don't know, you know, if it's hitting home, but they don't get as much credit for a living shoreline. But the whole place is a special exception. It's not original anything.
And I'll give you my perspective in what I'm writing, which is more citizen-wise than yacht club, is one of the reasons they chose the Cold Pier Channel was because, in layman's terms, theirs is about a paragraph long. It's water with systemic toxins and poisons that made it incompatible to aquatic life. So why are we making them take one? It's like, okay, you're buying 20 acres of water worth 5 cents an acre, and we want you to replace it with water worth $10 an acre. You know, I think there should be some type of mitigation credit where they shouldn't have to replace it 1-to-1. Maybe 2-to-1, or you know, or
Derelict boats, crab traps, something else. Oyster bays, something else. And do we know when?
Has with all the business going on down there at Trade Point, with that terminal going in and everything, has anybody ever approached the delegates about putting a sound wall across 695? Because the truck noise is atrocious in Edgemere now, and it's going to just get worse with them 1,700 trucks going by until they get that bridge up, which will be in 35.
Talking about going up on the ramp?
Well, all along there, probably from Bethlehem Boulevard, cleaning up past Beechwood and everything. Because them people in Beechwood got to hear them trucks just like we do.
Yeah, we've talked about that for years with them. In fact, we talked to State Highways about it. And for some reason, they say they can't do it, but I don't believe that. I mean, they do it everywhere.
There's a stretch of 695 around Stevenson Road out there where it's a preserve, it's a wildlife preserve, and they got a sound wall on it. So why can't they do it where people live?
Because it's
That's a crock.
Right.
I think we all agree on that one.
We always get shortchanged.
So we got to get the politicians involved.
Yeah, Sandy.
So when did they put this mitigation requirement in effect? Because my husband said when they did the Hart Miller Island, there was never any mitigation for removing open water. So is that something new? Is that
House rule or something that came out?
So Russ, do you know when those things came into effect?
It's all pretty much been in as far as the environmental end goes. Whenever you take land or whenever you impact the open environment, that you have to like cut down trees or anything, there's a price for that in law, and they have to replace it somewhere, sometime else. It don't have to be in the same place even, but it's all under the state umbrella and the federal umbrella. And they have places that you can contribute, like when they would build down here on Bowers Farm and that, okay? Those trees and stuff, some were stayed here, but the other places, he was putting trees all the way out in Hartford County. So it's spread out. It depends on where and what they're planning and what their major plan is.
Yeah, but I think what she's saying is, they didn't do that when they rebuilt Hart Miller Island and took away all that water. Where'd they make more water? Where'd they do it with Poplar Island?
That was another Trade Point project back then.
Yeah, it was Trade Point.
When they take away they're doing it with Poplar Island too. So what are they?
So, okay, guys.
Well, we all need to write it up because, and the one guy who had the idea for removing derelict boats, I thought that was brilliant. If they could get credit for that.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Hey, Lee.
Hey, just to let everybody know, if you haven't had enough of Trade Point Atlantic yet, they are at my meeting Monday at the library at 6:30. If you have more questions and everything like that, they'll be there. Yes.
For the dredging.
Well, not the dredging.
For the terminal.
For the terminal.
Right.
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
terminal.
because Dundalk's gonna be affected too, because they're gonna go up, they're gonna go hit Dundalk Avenue. Those trucks are gonna go everywhere. They don't have I don't care. You're a driver. You're going the closest, you're gonna go somewhere.
Right, yeah. So yeah, we testified, and I just encourage everybody to do that. I mean, that's the process, and we'll see what the regulators come up with. So we'll have more on that, I'm sure, for a long, long time to go. And I mean, we're kind of old, not all of us, but this is going to take It's going to take a long time to do this stuff.
I talked to somebody who's actually been in all these committee meetings and all these Senate meetings and everything, and I know there's a lot of money going from the state budget and the federal budget to here. And all the gentleman said was, Trade Point has to ask us for money, and the state is broke. That was his term, that wasn't mine. He said, the state is broke. Now, I don't know if the fiscal budget for 2026 is gonna come out and there's suddenly gonna be $50 zillion and all of a sudden everybody's gonna be happy and roses. But right now, he said the state was broke. And he said, if it hits committee and they're asking for all of this money and this money to be transferred, and I know it's a transportation project and it's gonna be this and it's gonna be that, but if the state is overall broke, it might sit in committee for a couple of years. And I'm like, well, they're pushing it down our throats like it's gonna happen they're breaking ground in 2026, I don't understand. He's like, no, the state is broke, and if they're gonna ask us for money, they better do it soon.
They actually posted the 2026 budget, they actually posted that 3 weeks ago.
But was Trade Point Atlantic on the budget?
It's so convoluted.
Right, but they're asking for like 50, I mean, they're not asking for like $1, they're asking for a lot of money.
You asked for that 3 years ago.
Yeah. But yeah, they did post it, and right at the bottom it said all state employees will not receive raises for the next year.
So, Tim wanted to say something.
So just to go back to Gary's comment about the sound walls, we started looking at that in 2019. I just happened to come across some documents I wrote back then today for some reason. And back in 2019, we were told that the county has to foot half of the bill along with the state. And I was told the county no longer puts funds in their project. So I don't know, it drives me crazy when I drive on the west side of the highway and I see all kinds of walls going up in Catonsville and Woodlawn and everywhere else. But we were told that the county doesn't fund it anymore. So I don't know if that's something that can be brought up at the town hall meeting coming up at the end of the month, to try to put some funds in there, but that's what we were told back in 2019. Oh, they're all. So I don't know when those walls were like, I mean, maybe the walls were being planned for 10 years, I don't know. But it drives me crazy when I see it all being built and we were told they no longer funded, so I don't know how long those projects were in the works.
Well, Ed will be going to the town hall for us. Linda and I will be out of town, but there's a good one for you. And funding for sound walls. That really is a good one.
When is that and where?
When?
It's the 27th.
Yeah, it's March 27th at Solers at 6 p.m.
Where at?
Solid.
So the next thing I wanted to just give an update on from this town hall meeting last year, we requested that the county replace all those broken macadam sidewalks on Lodge Farm and Lodge Forest. They came back and said there's also some on Lincoln and some on Bayfront, and so we will do all of those. So we've started to get signatures. So first we sent out letters to all those houses. We have, let me show you. So this is what we have. You know, we have a diagram of everybody who owns the properties there. So we sent letters to them saying the project was in the works, you know, that we would be going around, because one thing we have to do is we have to get permission slips signed from all the residents. They're not, if you go up Lincoln, it's really a mess because some are concrete, some are graphene, some are macadam. They're replacing the macadam. That's what this project is. They're not going to break up concrete. They're not going to do any mess with your driveway. Aprons there, you know. Anyway, we started going around to get signatures. We have a handful. That's about it. We went up on Bayfront. I'm going to just guess there's 10 houses on Bayfront that are affected. A couple had dogs in the yard. We're not going to go in then. We printed up little cards and we're leaving them on the fence. If we can't get in, if we rock on the door and nobody answers, we're leaving a card. We did see one guy who owned the house and he doesn't want it. So we can only get what we can get. We have heard back from one person. We left a card. So this weekend we are going to get together at 10:30. And we're going to really try to hit all these houses. We got a couple on Lodge Forest, which is good. I'm trying to get the church. So if anybody knows anybody at the Methodist Church, Ryan, do you have something?
What are you doing this weekend? I'll help you out.
Okay, yeah, I'll get with you. Yeah. But we're trying to get the Methodist Church because they have a really long swatch on that. And the county said they would handle the state part of it for us. So if we get the church, we'll have that whole strip there. We'll be able to get that one done. And then Lodge Farm, we're going to hit that one. And then try to hit most of Lincoln. A couple of people on Lincoln called when they got the letters, and so we ran over and we got their signatures. But not that we're worried about it now. They want to have the county wants all these signatures before the end of the month because they want to get started in April. They want to get it going out to bid and stuff. And one of our things is they're not going to come in if people aren't going to want it. You know, they're going to want so many. Yeah, Francis.
On my proposal for what they want to do with the blacktop for a sidewalk, we should say no. We should have concrete put in, and wherever they need to have storm drains in the immediate area where the sidewalks are, that we should have the storm drains put in. And the reason for concrete is because it lasts forever. Blacktop does not last forever. And when you make concrete, you make a footer and you pour it level. When you put the blacktop in, there's no level or form that they put in for the sidewalk, and plus the concrete is much smoother to walk on or ride your bike on than it is on the concrete.
So Ed, you want to?
We have argued all this to put in the
And also they say about the curbing. I've been to places where no curbing is ever put in, but sidewalks are put in, so they're full of crap on the matter for what they're trying to do.
Okay, we've been there. It's not going to happen. It's over. It's done. We're lucky to get this.
We shouldn't be lucky because our politicians...
I'm just telling you where we're at.
Our politicians aren't looking out for us. They're neglecting us.
We can't fix that.
They're neglecting us. And I went to the meeting now.
Election's coming up.
I went to the.
That's how we
I went
do
to the
some
legislation last Monday, and I'm having meetings with all 3 or 4 of our politicians for 15 minutes about things that are in our area that we're not proposing to have done. And I have a little bit here, would you let me?
If I have enough time at the end.
Elaborate on them? I will elaborate on it.
Okay, ask him about sound walls.
Get the
Need
sidewalks.
money for sound walls. Okay, so, yeah, get with you. If anybody else wants to help, if anybody knows anybody on any of those 4 streets, tell them that we really need their signatures if they want. Yes, Brian?
Fran, would it be okay to go on the Edgemere page, Facebook page? Maybe I'll get a picture of just a generic part and then mention it.
That will be going around this weekend?
Around the
Yes,
people, you know,
that would be
just say,
good. Yeah.
You know, your community leaders will be going around and we're trying to do this.
That'd be- yep, that'd be
You gotta
fine.
tell people they're falling down, maybe carriages are falling in the, you know, the street, you know.
That'd be
Okay.
fine. Yep, thanks.
I'll try to get something posted.
Okay. So I just wanted to mention too, you know, the Trade Point, Hart Miller, the whole thing that fell through. There hasn't been a meeting of the Hart Miller Committee since then. There's a meeting next week, so we're going to try to get some information as to where we're going to go from here as far as the north-south closure goes. And Sam and Karen are on the Hart Miller Committee with me, and it really is a priority. We're going to move forward. It's been 15 years since they stopped receiving material, so it's time to figure this out. But we just were reappointed too, so we have 2 more years. We've been on the committee for, I don't know, probably about 25 years. Yeah. I do have a couple announcements from other groups. One of the things, dumpster days have been a little bit confusing this year. We normally were able to just put in a date, you know, and let everybody know. We have to get hear back from the county now. We're shooting for 4/12, but it's not approved yet, so we're not sure if that's going to happen or not. But I do want to bring up something. So the Rec Council, they do an Earth Day event. They do a community cleanup. They do have one scheduled now. There's this scheduled later this year for a couple different reasons, but they are doing theirs on May the 4th. Are you guys helping with that? May the 4th, down at Fort Howard?
I'm not sure yet.
Talk to us, but we have in the past.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they're doing that on 5/4. They also wanted me to mention that they're doing their spring sports parade on April the 26th, and they just wanted me to bring that because there's impacts on the road. You know, it won't be long, but there's impacts on the roads coming in, so have to plan on coming around the back way unless you want to get held up for a little while. So the Key Bridge rebuild, I don't really have a whole lot on that, but there's been a couple really good shows on Nova and other ones. So if you had a chance to watch that, what a tragedy, and we're all so impacted by it. But it's going to be a nice looking bridge, I think, when it's finished. It's going to be really something. It's going to be a gateway when those cruise ships come in, or when we putt down the harbor. We'll see it.
Really good.
When we take the train over.
When we take the train over.
Francis, yes, sir.
And about the Key Bridge, I'm pushing for an off-ramp to go into Dundalk on Burning Highway and an on-ramp coming out of Burning Highway coming north. Because now you have to go all the way around and underneath the bridge itself. It's over a mile long that they have to do this.
Yep.
And when you speak about the bridge, when I went to the meeting at the Harbor Hospital, when they said about the bridge to be, I mentioned to them that they'll have a 2-tier bridge, and they're going to put a 2-tier bridge in now. That means one cable bridge over here and one cable bridge on the other side. One on the west side and one on the east side.
Oh, okay. Yep, gotcha. Okay.
So they took my idea.
Perfect. I did want to say one thing. I had a note here about Fort Howard, and a lot of talk going on about the housing and stuff in that HB 538. So I contacted the councilman's office, and the zoning that he put into that was RC20, which really makes it all critical area. So I don't think they're not concerned that the housing can be put in some aspect, but he said it's going to be really tough as far as the environmental impacts and the rules and regulations are going to have to file for that. So I just wanted to bring that out there. I don't know if it's, we'll keep up on it, but I don't know if it's this big emergency thing right now, and it could be. Who the heck knows what's going on behind the scenes? The other thing I wanted to mention was if people are out there and they're runners and like to support different causes for the community, the Rec Council is also having a Millers Island Shamrock 5K run. Still running? Let's see, when's the date? The 15th, March the 15th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the start is at Dock of the Bay, I think. That's where the last one was. Music prizes, raffles. You can also get a $12 brunch, which it was a pretty good breakfast down the last race they had. And all the proceeds go to the Rec Council. So if you just want to get out and walk and help support the community that way, good thing. I have, last month I talked about some legislation that we were looking at, that we were watching. One was Senator Solling's for electric bike registrations, $30 a year I think he's asking for. I looked into it a little more, and apparently, maybe not here so much, but in the city, in different areas, they're having issues with these electric bikes, just scooting through the roads, not obeying the traffic laws. So maybe he's onto something there, and we're just a little bit immune. Yeah, Gary.
Did you see where Salling, he introduced a bill for getting golf carts and electric bikes registered, but then he pulled it back for some reason.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was, I read it in the Eagle last week, or I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he introduced a bill, and then, because his car was hit,
Yeah.
damage.
Oh, well, thank you for telling me that. I'll scratch out off the list.
Like I said, you can look into it, but.
Well, that and electric bike batteries were, they were blowing up and catching fire and all that kind of stuff.
So the other one that we really have testified against for probably 4 years now is was a city delegate put it in years ago, and then I think he made it into the Senate. So now Robin has picked this up. It's a HB 335, and it alters the definition of community association. In our opinion, it really weakens any verification that a group represents an area. If you get a chance, look it up. HB 335. Make your own mind up on it. But I listened to the hearing. I think it was last week, and we've expressed our concerns to Robin, and totally independently, these other groups are going and testifying from other areas and other interests, and they're saying the same exact thing. So there's something to it.
Yeah, destroy communities.
Yeah, there's something to it. Yeah. There's a new one just got introduced. I just heard about it today. HB 1554 is a 2.5% tax on business services. Ed and I talked about it. So I mean, it could really be impactful, because where if they're getting taxed 2.5%, where that's coming down to. It could just raise all of our stuff. I mentioned the budget town hall. That's March 27th, 6 p.m. And a lot of good talk here. Some needs in the community, and that's the place to go. Which one? SB 292. There's another one that we talked about. That was, and Frank, I'm sure you know about this one. It's saying that the police can't pull you over for like expired tags, headlights out. I mean, it just really dumbs down that whole traffic enforcement thing. So I haven't heard any more of that. Have you?
No. It was still just talk.
Yeah. But boy, I tell you, it's like everything. It's just getting weaker and weaker instead of getting stronger and stronger on things.
It's contradictive, because they talk about stuff like this, about not being able to stop cars and things like that. But then yet when you look at the TVs, they have the they have the commercial on there about stopping the cars from bringing guns in, and they call it, what's that, Iron Highway and all that. Well, how do you expect to be able to stop that from happening if you're gonna take away the rights of the officers from being able to stop the cars if they have tail lights out, or tags expired, or something like that? So, it's a catch-22.
And really, probably the worst part about it was the officer could be disciplined.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, you know, some of this stuff is just nuts.
So it's just not your job and just sit there and like the picture.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of their officers are retiring, because a lot of officers signed up to be police officers and they can't be anymore, so they're all retiring.
Exactly.
So one last thing that I have that is really important, I just saw in the Eagle tonight, is the MDE has a notice out for comment. If anybody wants I think you can ask for a public, meeting like this, but it's for the dredging on Shallow Creek. So it's what is it? It's just maintenance dredging. So people already have channels going to their piers. 26,000 yards, which is not a whole lot, and it's going to go over to Cox Creek, which is right on the other side of the bridge, over in Anne Arundel County.
I want to know how they got that, because people around here have been asking for dredging for years and they can't get it.
That is around here.
Yeah, but it's not on Jones Creek.
Well, I don't know.
This is a county project, so I'm not sure if the other ones would be. I guess they'd all be county projects.
Yes, it's a county project.
But I don't think that was like when they dredged North Point Creek and a lot of the other ones. I know it's been 08, 09.
It was a
somewhere
long
around
time ago.
I don't think Shallow Creek was done then.
Oh, it wasn't?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, we were told a while ago that was in the works, but the notice was just out today. So if anybody wants to comment on that, maybe we will comment, because we're in favor of that for sure.
So this might be more for Sam, if he knows. The helicopter was doing more MIG spraying this week. Is that going to continue into this year, several more times?
That is about all I have. Yes, one second. Does anybody else have anything? Yes, Francis, how about 5 minutes?
Okay, I'm still pushing to have Back River dredged to 1940. And the city must pay for the dredging.
Amen.
Because the sediment coming down from Herring Run is causing the problem for the midgets to be. And they have to remove all the swampland, because that's where they're living, in the swampland. And they have to have a trash wheel on Herring Run before it drops in to Back River. And the city must pay for it, because now they have a boom there and they manhandle whatever is floating on the water. But what is not floating comes downstream. And the sewage plant, we are being taken advantage of because we are being charged by our water usage. I want the county to put an intake valve that meters the amount of sewage going into Back River treatment plant. And whatever it costs to operate the plant, if it costs $5 for 200 gallon or 300 gallon or 1,000 gallon, it should be a flat rate. And every homeowner on the line where that sewage is coming from, we will all pay the same price. And in doing that, every business will have to pay the same price regardless of how many toilets you have in your house or whatever. It's going to be a flat rate like they have down in Ocean City. They have a flat rate, and every quarter I get a bill for my units down there. It's around close to $55 every quarter, the sewage and water. And it should be the same here, not based on, because of your meter on the water meter, you wash your car, you water your garden, you hose off your sidewalk, you have a kiddie pool, and all that's being going to be charged that the water is not going into the sewage plant.
One more thing.
And spraying of the midges started, I think it was Monday. And they're gonna continue to spray. And our property tax, we should all be up in arms about it. We should have a flat rate for our property tax, not based on what somebody sold the house down the street or whatever. We all have the same service rendered to us for the condition of our livelihood. A flat rate should be, and it should be based on the budget, how much the budget is going to cost for us to have. And everybody pays the same. Not somebody's paying $2,000 more over here versus $1,000 here, and the size of the house don't matter. Because if you have a bigger house, you have more maintenance and everything to take care of. It costs you more money to operate your heating bill and everything. And if there are doctors and dentists that are having these, our bill won't be as high because they don't have to pay as high tax to have the high income that they think because they're doctors, lawyers, or whatever to be.
You're good. One more thing. One more, that's it. And then we gotta go.
I think I addressed the things that I want to get tonight.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm having meetings with the legislators for 15 minutes to discuss these things and other things, beside these things that I have written here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, God bless you all. May
If anybody wants a copy of their presentation they did tonight, I have several copies of it.
Okay, are we wrapping up?
Thank you guys very much. Have a safe drive home. Thank you everybody who's watching. Good night.